In the United States, we choose our president through an indirect election. It's not really the one person, one vote we all think of as being the basis for our democracy. Instead, for more than 200 years, the complex process of the Electoral College has been used to select our most powerful official.
So why is it that since 1887 we don't actually vote for a president, but for a group of electors who have pledged to support a candidate? That's a topic that acclaimed author and historian Alex Kazar tackles in his new book, Why Do We Still Have the Electoral College? He is a professor at the Harvard Kennedy School, and Alex joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for inviting me on.
So the Electoral College, I guess, supposedly gives smaller states maybe some attention, but is it an antiquated system after all these years?
I certainly do think it's an antiquated system. In fact, the Electoral College has been commonly began to be referred to as archaic about 150 years ago. And to respond to the first part of your sentence, I don't even think it gives a lot more attention to small states. If you look at candidate visits over the years, they only go to small states which happen to be swing states.
Sure.
You hear some people say, well, my vote doesn't necessarily count in terms of why the popular vote doesn't necessarily elect our president. But in terms of the local races, when you look at that ballot, obviously the president's up there, but there are a lot of local races that certainly matter.
Absolutely, and actually that's one of the things I say to people too, who say to me, well, it doesn't matter in my state. I'm in Massachusetts. It's going to go for Joe Biden, but there are a lot of other races on where it is important to vote. But also, I think that the contrast between the other races, all the other races we vote for, and the presidential election, so points out how peculiar our presidential election is. It just doesn't conform to the rules that we use for every other election.
And so in the context of voter suppression, we now have a lot of mail-in ballots and early voting because of the pandemic, and different states have different rules of how they're going to count the ballots and when they're. So what should we be looking for in the next few days?
It's hazardous to predict, but I think that we should be looking to see if there are numerous close tallies in states where the vote count is going slowly, and in states that would matter, because it's under that circumstance that we will see all sorts of contests, pressures, delays, and probably lawsuits.
Where do you think that this election, obviously it's difficult to know what's going to happen tomorrow, very unpredictable, but where do you think this election stands in terms of the U.S. election history? I know Lincoln Douglas, of course, is top of mind, but where do you think this one stands?
I think this is way up there. I think it's up there with after Lincoln Douglas, but Lincoln's election in 1860. I think that this is a very fundamental choice about what kind of society we're going to be, and whether our institutions are really robust. So I think this is a big one. As a historian, I usually underplay the significance. Journalists are saying this is the most important since X, and I pop up and say, yeah, no, but it was the same, in some other year. This is a big one.
Yeah, and so back to the topic of close votes and voter suppression. How would you qualify the nature of voter suppression in 2020? And is this something that can be cleaned up, seeing the Supreme Court is going in a certain direction?
Voter suppression seems to be more widespread and increasingly innovative in a variety of states. And we have to remember that many states it's become easier to vote, and the election administration is well administered and not discriminatory at all. But voter suppression does seem to be more widespread, and we've even forgotten about the old voter ID laws. But now we have, the purging of voter rolls, and then in the most remarkable developments in the last couple of weeks, pressure to not count votes that have been cast because of deadlines, which have always been regarded quite flexibly in the past. I think that one thing we need, frankly, is greater federal guidelines about election procedures. These things have long been mostly in the hands of the states. And that's why there's so much variety from one state to another. Nobody can try to follow it from afar. Endless lawsuits, no guiding principles. But I'm concerned, as you suggest, that the Supreme Court majority has been leaning in the direction of a more constricted interpretation of the right to vote. So I think it will take a lot of political organizing and a lot of work at the state level to get things to change.
There have been so many headlines about making a big deal out of us not knowing necessarily what the results are of this election tomorrow night. Is that unprecedented? And I mean, to me, it seems like the media usually is the one that calls the election before the results are essentially verified.
Right. I mean, if you look back on it over the last 50 years, who's in charge of this election? The Associated Press.
Right,
They make the
right.
official call, and that seems kind of nuts. It is a media and cultural creation that the election should be called that night. Now or some of us of a certain age can remember back to the 2000 election when the election was sort of called late at night, then uncalled about 2 hours later when Vice President Gore withdrew his concession. Yeah. And then it went on for 3 or 4 weeks after that. I think it is utterly unrealistic for us to expect that we are going to know the outcome of this election Tuesday night or early Wednesday morning. I suspect it will take till the end of the week.
Alex, real quick, if you were to do away with the Electoral College, are you just saying go straight popular vote? Is that fair to the Nebraskas and the what have you?
I think it's fair. It's the fairest system all around. I would go with a straight national popular vote, or I could also recommend a proportional division of the electoral votes within each state.
Yeah, interesting. Boy, those Harvard guys are smart, huh?
We do our best.
Thank you very much for joining us. The book is Why Do We Still Have the Electoral College? Alex is also the author of The Right to Vote, about the contested history of democracy in the United States. Alex Kazar, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.